Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. So now I'm going to tell some Mahabharata stories. So the last time that we did any kind of Mahabharata, Arjuna, he went to Himalayas and he was doing austerity because he wanted to go to Swarga to get weapons. Because the Pandavas, they had the dice match and they had lost and they had to go. And so Arjuna and Krishna had defeated the Devas, Indra, to save Agni. And so what had happened was that the Devas said, in the future you come and you get weapons from us in Swarga. So Arjuna had decided that he was going to go up to Swarga and get these weapons. So because they wanted to fight with Duryodhana. So Arjuna, he went up to Swarga. He did austerities in Shiva. He satisfied Shiva, and then he got to. Then Indra's chariot driver came and took him up to Swarga. And that's where I left off. So Arjuna, he went to Swargaloka, and Indra greeted him. They went through these places. He flew up into the heavens, and he saw all the stars were glowing mansions where Devas lived. And he went higher than the stars, and he went to the kingdom of Indra. And the kingdom of Indra, Matali said, you can't pass through the gates of Indra if you turn back from any challenge. If you ever face a problem and you run away, then you can never enter the gates of heaven. So so he took Arjuna, into Swarga, and this beautiful city. Indra sits there as the king. They have a Deva Sabha, which is of Indra, which is 100 yojans tall. No, 100 yojans wide and 3 yojans tall. It's made of solid gold. And the city of Indra has high walls made with gems, and it looks like a rainbow because there's so many different kinds of colored gems on it. And so the Sabha of Indra is made of solid gold, and in the middle there is there's a tiered seating, and Indra, he sits on the eastern side, and he sits up there, and he wears a huge mala of pearls, of 100,000 pearls, string, and they cover his chest. And he has a rainbow, and he has a huge club also, made of solid iron. And he has a Shakti dart, which he can throw. And then he has the Vajra, the thunderbolt. And with the thunderbolt, he has 3 kinds of thunder. One is the Vajra, the thunderbolt scepter, that he can shoot it's made from the bones of Dadichi, and he can shoot that and kill the demons. And then there's Thunder Astra, which comes, there's the dry lightning and the wet lightning. The wet lightning is the lightning that comes when there's rain. And the dry lightning is the lightning that comes, they call it heat lightning, and it's static electricity. So those are the 3 kinds of thunder that Indra commands. And so Indra sits there, and then below him in the Sabha, there's the 49 Maruts, which are storm gods. And they control when Indra goes anywhere, they go with him. He has these huge elephants that are related to Airavata. Airavata is the king of elephants. But there's and he gave his Maruts these 49 elephants. They're actually asuras, but they're Daityas. They're the sons of Diti. But because Indra served Diti, while she was pregnant with him, because he was scared that her son would kill him, she actually started to like Indra. And so when the feelings that the mother has, the baby has. So actually the sons came out and they all liked Indra. So, because Indra kept on serving her, she started to kind of like him. And so, instead of hating him. So the sons of Indra, the sons of Diti, they actually started to, like Indra. They were his friends.
You want to tell that story about the Maruts?
Oh, yeah, how the Maruts came to be. Yeah. So Indra killed so many demons in the battle of the Milk Ocean. And Diti was very angry at him. So she did tapasya for many, many years. And she held this embryo in her womb, doing tapasya, and so she could have a super baby that would kill Indra. So Indra got scared. So she's doing tapasya. I think it's 1,000 years. It's a long time. So to have a pregnancy, you can imagine. So it's heavy tapasya. So Indra, he was serving her very because technically she's his aunt, because she's the sister of his mother. So he went there and he was serving her this whole time, and the reason he was serving her because he wanted to see if she would have some fault of her austerities. So she was looking in, and he was looking, what's going on? So one time she was lying in she put her head where her feet should be. So Indra, he flew inside the womb and he shot a thunderbolt at the baby. And it split into 7. And they all started to cry. So he said, Maru, Maru, which means don't cry. Then, because Rudra, the crying, Ravana, Rudra means, so Maru means be quiet, calm down, don't cry. So then they were crying, so then they were still alive. So he shot his thunderbolt again to all the 7 babies. And then they all became 49. And then they were all crying. He said, Maru, Maru. So that's what they called Maruts. So those are the Maruts, and they're actually they're like the special forces of Indra's army. They ride on the big elephants, and when he goes to war, they go with him. They make the wind. Actually, Vayu is in charge of prana, the life air. Vayu is not in charge of the wind that blows, that we're feeling right now, the nice breeze. That's the Maruts. There's 49 of them. They're in charge of different winds. Some, heavy wind or light wind. And basically what they do is, you may not know, but the clouds are actually like a cow. And they're a living thing. And the Maruts kind of herd them through the sky, and with the wind. And these big clouds, they pick up the rainwater in one place and then they bring it to another. So that's what their function is. They move it, and that's why Indra is friends with them. And as the wind comes and then the storm comes, and the Maruts use the wind, and they herd these big, huge rain clouds through the sky and bring rain where Indra wants it to go. That's pretty much what they do. And so they're like his right-hand men. They're really strong. They're really powerful, actually. The wind is strong, and they're covered with armor, and they describe their armor. They have spears. They have spears with that shine like the sunlight. They ride around on antelope. Sometimes they talk about them on antelope, and sometimes it's on an elephant. But so they have spears that shine like the sunlight, and their armor is golden and covered with gems. And they also have clubs and swords and battle axes and all kinds of weapons just hanging off of them. And they just they can
Vayu also rides on an antelope. Is that right?
Yeah. So they're similar kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, Vayu rides on the Renku deer, which is a black deer, which the sages put on the ground. Apparently, the smell of it keeps the snakes don't like. That's why they keep the deer skin. They put the grass mat so it's a certain height, and then they put the deer skin on it because they're deep in samadhi and they don't want to be bothered with the bugs and the snakes. And apparently the black deer, the skin of the deer, the snakes, they don't like the smell, and the bugs too. So they can just be undisturbed with their meditation. So that's Vayu, right? So also, there's these soldiers of Indra. Indra has an army. It's the celestial army. Millions and millions. And also Gandharvas, they fight in his army. He has 14 million Gandharvas in his army. It says, there's one great sadhu in the Madhvacharya line. His name was Jaganath Dasa. And he wrote one book called Harikatamrita. And it has very detailed descriptions of all these kind of things. So, anyway, there's 7 Gandharva kings in each, 7 tribes of Gandharvas that live in Swarga. And the 7 Gandharva kings are very powerful. And they're kind of like the gophers for Indra. Like if he needs something done, he'll say, go do. So, and each one of those tribes has 2,000 soldiers in the Indra's army. So they're really powerful actually. Their wings glow and they fly in the sky and they shoot the bows and arrows and have different kind of astras. They convert their Shakti into like destructive force. Gandharva astras, there's 3. They can they take their Shakti and turn into a missile kind of thing. Then another thing that they do is they can do something and all of a sudden they're one place and then in the blink of an eye, they're in another place. And then they did that with, I'm going to get into that. They did that with Karna.
Karna. Right?
Yeah. And the third one is they can actually, and the master of that one, then they can just, not only can they move themselves, but they can move a whole bunch of them at once. They can move himself and then everybody around him.
So they can synchronize.
Yeah, they can synchronize. And that's what they did with Karna. And all of a sudden, boom, there's, that's their city. They're powerful beings. So they're mostly made of mind and intelligence. They're not as much made of matter like us.
The soldiers themselves?
Yeah. The Gandharva species, you could say. The Gandharva species, they're not really so much made of earth, air, fire, water, ether. They're mostly made of ether and mind and intelligence. But they have enough of the other elements. This is why, like, for example, if you have the fire element present, then you can see it. But if something doesn't have the fire element, it's invisible. If it has the air element in it, then you can feel it. If it has the earth element in it, you can smell it. So that's the way these things work. So some beings, they're made of more subtle elements, so we can't see. So that's like devatas and but they have enough of these things in them that they can become present, but they can control it. Like then the Gandharvas, they're mostly invisible, but then they can become present because they can control these elements, the fire and the wind. So then, so these are some of the beings, and so there's the armies. Indra's army is composed of kings who die in battle, and if they're virtuous enough, and then he actually empowers them, and they sit in his army, and he gives them divine weapons and things like that. So they describe his army in like when he fought with Vritrasura, he had a huge army. They talk about it, and all the demons started ripping up trees and throwing mountains at the army of Indra. But Indra, he has the rainbow. The other day there was a double rainbow. Indra has a rainbow and he shoots his arrows like rain. And so all the mountains and all the trees and whatever they threw on his soldiers, they got blown so small that the soldiers didn't even know that they got thrown at them. But they talk about this army of Indra. And so all these beings are there. And then they have 45 million rishis that live within Amravati. And they do huge, so the Sabha of Indra has in the middle of it is empty. And they have lots of kundas, the fire, havana, for Jagya. So Brihaspati is the chief priest. But there's all these other sages, and they do all kinds of Jagya for Vishnu and the Devatas and all this stuff, like all the time. It's all going on in the middle. There's 4 big, good Jagyas have 4 havan. It's supposed to have 4 fire for right kind of Jagya. And some fire, 1 fire is for the earth, 1 fire is for the Swarga, Bu, Bor, Swa. And then there's another one, I think, for that's the kind of havana. So they have this big, and then there's one section. So also the Apsaras, that's like in the center. But then they have other sections, and the Apsaras are dancing and the Gandharvas are playing. Gandharvas have 2 jobs. Sometimes they're fighting, and sometimes they're doing entertainment. So then there's all these, 330 million devas, and they all live in Amravati too. It's a huge city. They all live in this place, and they have houses and palaces there. But then the Deva Sabha is the biggest, and it's what is that? What's 2 yojans? How big is 2 yojans?
16 miles.
16 miles tall.
Yeah.
That's the palace of the Sabha of Indra is 16 miles tall, and it's 800 miles long, and he made that himself. So that's the Deva Sabha of Indra. So they took Arjuna in there, and all the devas, he saw them. And Indra was so happy. Indra has a huge throne, actually, which he shares with Sachi, but because Arjuna came, then Indra said, "Come, sit." So he actually scooted away Sachi, and Arjuna sat on the throne. And Indra, he was sitting there, and he looked, because he's huge, Indra's big. And so Arjuna was like a little baby next to him. And he was petting him and treating him just like a little baby, because in front of everybody, And he's like touching his head, smelling his head, and just touching him. And he has this palm that it has nectar come out of it, of life, so... But that's his, Indra's really... So Indra was like that. All the Apsaras, they were dancing. And Indra wanted to show Arjuna a nice time. So he had all the Apsaras do a special dance, and the Gandharvas did the, So that's the way Swarga is all the time. It's always some party. There's always some celebration for some reason. And they're always, having some fun for some reason. There's some reason to have fun. They'll find it. So then, there's the Nandana garden. So he's seen all these places too. The grass is as soft as the foam of milk. The roads are paved with gold, because gold is soft, you see. The trees are huge, and they're covered with fruit. It's so much fruit, it's hanging down. Now you have to understand that the celestials, they don't need to eat to survive, because they don't need to eat to live. Like human beings, if you're not eating, you're going to start dying or something. You better be really strong yogi, or, But the devas, they don't need to eat. They don't get hungry, but they eat because enjoying, because it's fun to eat. so they eat sattvic things. So they'll eat like fruits, and mostly they're eating like fruits and milk sweets. That's mostly what they talk about them eating. Like they'll eat kheer or different kinds of milk sweets, like burfi and ladus, and and they eat like mangoes and things like that. Asuras, and they drink varuni and different things like that. But and they have a drink called sura also. But so this is the Devata. So Arjuna's seen all these things. And then Indra took him away to this room after the celebration. He noticed that Arjuna was looking at Urvashi also. So he thought, oh, he must like her. So then he took him away to this room, and there was all the Shaktis, the weapons. Because all the weapons are actually devas. There's a demigod in charge of every weapon. And what the guru does is he gives you mantra to worship this demigod, and then you have the power to control the weapon. But it has to come from a guru. Otherwise, you can say the mantra all day, it's not going to work. So the guru, you can say, what is it? Krim, that's the mantra for thunderbolt. But, it has in the Dhanur Veda. So, the mantra for they're all bij mantra. Bij means seed. So all the weapons, they are bij mantras, like Klim and Krim and Shrom, and all these are bij mantras. So all the weapons are simple, they're just bij mantras. So you say it, but they're connected to the day. So you have to have a qualified guru in the martial, and then they'll tell you, and then they kind of initiate you into the mantra, and then you can control the weapon. But otherwise, you can say it all day; it's not going to work. So it's only by So Arjuna was there, and they had all these weapons. So Indra took him and personally showed him all the weapons, and he instructed all the weapons, the gods who are in charge of all the weapons, that they need to be subservient to Arjuna, and that whatever he tells them, they have to do. And since he's the king of the devas, then they have to listen. So Arjuna, he received all the weapons, so he was very happy. And he was ready to go, and Indra said, no, stay. He wanted him to stay a little longer. Now Arjuna stayed 5 years in human land, but it's only 5 days in Swarga. Because if he stayed 5 years in Swarga, then that's like, I think he would have come back just recently. It's a long time. It's a long time. 5 days in Swarga is long. 5 years, I mean. 5 years in Swarga is a long time. But 5 days is not so long. So he just stayed 5 days in Swarga, and so all the devas, they taught. So Indra said, I stay a little longer, and Chitrangada, he will teach you how to sing and dance. So Chitrangada, he was teaching Arjuna how to sing and dance, and he didn't exactly know why he was being taught that, but so he was listening, and he was being taught how to sing and dance. And so the different So while he was there, he was very sad to miss his family, because he was gone and for a long time. He was doing that tapasya, and then he was there in Swarga, and he didn't look too happy. Another thing is that he told Indra everything that Duryodhana had done. All the whole, all the mean things that Duryodhana had done, the gambling and how they stole his kingdom and all those things. So Indra actually got really shocked, and he was actually really sad and angry at everything that had happened. But he was feeling bad, and he's thinking, because one thing is that when people generally, when they go to Swarga Loka, they go there to enjoy, right? And Arjuna, he wasn't just like absorbed in enjoyment while he was there. And Indra was surprised. He thought he must be really depressed. He's the king of heaven, and then heaven's like a recreation place. and Arjuna's there, and he's not having fun. So Indra kind of felt like, oh my God, I've really, making a big mistake. So I have to, make sure he's happy. So then now that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is he understood that he actually was kind of trying to get Arjuna to, there's a certain situation he was setting Arjuna up for, which we're going to get into. So he went to there's several levels. So he said, Chitrangada, come here. So Chitrangada is he's one of the Gandharva kings, and Indra goes to him a lot, actually. So he said, Chitrangada, I have one request for you. He said, you have taught Arjuna many of the Gandharva ways, singing and dancing. He said, but now I need you to help him understand the ways of being around apsaras. So Chitrangada, he said, go to Urvashi and say some nice things to her about Arjuna and try and get her to visit Arjuna. So then Chitrangada, he went to Urvashi, because Indra had seen that Arjuna, he kind of had eyes for Urvashi, but he didn't understand we'll get into that. So Chitrangada went to Urvashi and he started describing Arjuna. He said, in this city there's this handsome man, and today is actually, right now the moon is in Uttara Falgun, so Arjuna was born under Uttara Falgun. So he was born under the auspicious Uttara Falgun. He's very handsome and very beautiful, and he's the son of Indra, and he's the king of the Kurus, and started talking up Arjuna very nice. And he said, Indra would like you to visit him. So she said, I don't need a request from Indra. I will go anyway. So then she went to see Indra, and she was dressed very beautifully. And actually, the Devatas, they're so used to seeing beautiful women. But the way that Urvashi dressed herself with the special ornaments and different things, and the Gandharvas, they saw her, and they were just looking, and they would actually fall off of their airplanes. The celestial people, they would look, and then they would fall off their airplanes. Some people fainted. She is so beautiful. So she was walking along and to see Indra. So Indra, she walked along to see Arjuna. So she went to Arjuna's staying in a special place. And he had actually one servant there. And so she knocked on the door, and the servant answered the door, and she said, tell Arjuna I'm here. So then she waited in one room, and Arjuna went to see, and then she was so beautiful, he actually closed his eyes. And he said, what are you doing here dressed like that? He said, I have come here to enjoy with you. And Arjuna said, no. He said, I cannot do that. She said, but I heard that you were looking at me. He said, I have heard many stories of you, but you're the mother of my race. You married Yayati, and that was 36 generations previous. So I can only see you as my grandmother. And she was very offended. You never call a beautiful woman your grandmother. So she actually was very offended. But first she said, it's okay. The Swarga is different than in the earth. The rules that we have here are different. She said, I have been with many of the descendants of Yayati. And so Arjuna said, no, I can only see you as my grandmother. So she got angry, and she said, actually, if you do not want to be with me, then I shall curse you to be a eunuch. So Arjuna was scared. So he went to Indra, and he said, Indra, she cursed me to be a eunuch. So Indra said, okay, just calm down. I'll reduce the curse to just 1 year. And he said, besides, if you're going to be incognito, everybody knows Arjuna. You're one of the most famous people in the whole world. So I kind of arranged this so that you wouldn't be recognized. So that was kind of Indra's. Sometimes people do two things at the same time.
Yeah, two birds with one stone.
Yeah. So Indra kind of arranged that whole situation so that Arjuna would be protected. So Arjuna, while he was there was this clan of demons. They're called the Nivatakavachas. They did tapasya to be immune to being killed by devas. And they didn't expect a human being to be in Swarga. So they went there to fight, and so Indra said, we can't fight with them, so you please help us. So this is one of my evidences why Arjuna was 1,000 times better than Karna. Well, I don't know about 1,000, but Arjuna, the whole time Karna's just sitting in Hastinapur, but Arjuna, he's doing heavy tapasya. He gets all these weapons from the devas, and then he's fighting, he fought with 40,000 demons, single-handed. He fought with 40,000 of these demons. He left Amravati, and he had Indra's chariot, which is useful, but he had all these weapons, and he just blew them all away, All these demons, they just he killed them, and they were the ones that he didn't kill, they ran.
I'd like to mention that Nivatakavacha means airtight suits. So
Yeah, airtight armor.
armor. Okay.
Yeah, kavacha means armor.
Yeah. So it's like a space.
Yeah,
Vision is a space
airproof armor. It's so, the armor is so, it's airproof, airtight. So he killed these demons, the Nivata Kavacha, yeah. And he killed, there's 40,000 of them, and he just blew them away. So these demons, he took them out. So, this is Arjuna. And there's so many Gandharvas, they went to fight with Karna, and all he did was cry mama and ran away. So, this Arjuna is way better. So, then after it was done, Indra gave him a great celestial helmet. And that's why one of his names is Kiritan. Yeah. Because he wears the celestial crown. They gave him a celestial crown to wear. So then, after he defeated the Nivata Kavachas and he fought with they gave him the crown, and then he went back. So while he was up in Swarga, the Pandavas was down on the earth. So they decided that they were going to go to Badri. They were going to go to Badri, Uttar Badri, which is Badika Ashram. It's where Narayan used to live. There's a place, it's a valley they haven't found it, but it's a valley in the Himalayas, and it's even though it's in the mountains, it's filled with beautiful flowers and fruits, and it's almost like Swarga. It's filled with flowers, fruits, and all kinds of nice places, and the weather's nice. Although I do have to comment at this point that the cold weather is actually a symptom of Kali Yuga. In the Satya Yuga, there was no such thing as what we call winter. That's just a symptom of Kali Yuga. And the more sin there is, the more cold it is. So if you want to stop global warming, don't chant Hare Krishna. The more we chant, the better. I guess we did enough Jagya this year because it's been warm, I'm just mentioning. Winter is actually a symptom. Cold weather is actually caused by sin. So the Pandavas, they were up in Badri, and it's actually warm. Even though it's in the Himalayas, it's warm. So there was one beautiful 1,000-petaled golden lotus that blew in on a breeze, and Draupadi caught it. And she liked it very much. It smelled very beautiful and celestial, actually. So Bhima said, Draupadi, you like it? She said, I like it very much. He said, I will give you a whole armful. So Bhima, he's strong. So he was running through the forest. And if there's a tree in the way, he'll just kick it over. And he's running and going through all these different places and doing different things. And then he's going on the road, and then he stops. Because there's one old monkey laying in the road. So, big monkey, by the way. Yeah, it was like a hill. It looked like a hill. Big monkey. It looked like a hill. It was lying in the road. And he said, get out of the way. And the monkey said, I'm too old. I cannot move. He said, get out of the way. I will lift you up like how Hanuman lifted the mountain. So the monkey said, Hanuman? Who is Hanuman? Bhima said, come on. You're a monkey? You don't know who Hanuman is? He said, no. He said, yeah, he is my brother, actually. And he is the king of all monkeys, so you have to listen to me. He said, I am too old. He said, just jump over me. He said, I can't do that. He said, fine, then just lift up my tail and move it, and then you can go. So Bhima, he got down and he went to lift the tail, but he couldn't. First he had one hand. He thought maybe this monkey is a demon. So he grabbed the monkey with one hand, and he was going to pick him up and swing him and throw him away. But he lived with one hand, he couldn't lift. So then he grabbed with two hands, and he couldn't lift. And he's struggling. He couldn't, two hands he couldn't lift. And this is Bhima. I mean, Bhima is strong as 10,000 elephants. So he couldn't even lift. So then he realized, oh, this is Hanuman. So he bowed down, actually. And Hanuman said, this path you're going on, it actually goes into Swarga. And I am guarding this, and you can't go beyond this place. I'm actually guarding this place. So they were talking, and Hanuman, earlier actually, Hanuman had met Arjuna. And he had promised that, do you know the story? No. Oh, okay, I guess I might as well tell this story, how Hanuman met Arjuna. So Arjuna was actually walking, and he saw it with Krishna. And he saw a river. And he just started talking. He said, I heard that in Treta Yuga, Rama, he built this bridge across the ocean with stones. But, if you're a good archer, you can build a bridge out of arrows. Why did he have to use stones? What's the use? So then there was a monkey, and Krishna said, I don't know. So there's this big monkey in the tree, and he said, the monkeys are heavy. If you build a bridge out of arrows, it will collapse. And Arjuna said, no. He said, if you have competent skill, it can hold any monkey. So the monkey said, you want to test that? So Arjuna said, okay, it's a wager then. He said, my Kshatriya honor I put on this. So he shoots all these arrows and he makes a bridge across the river. And so the monkey gets down from the tree and he walks and the bridge collapses, 1 foot. Then Arjuna, he shoots another bridge with more arrows. And then the monkey walks on the bridge and then breaks. Then he shoots another bridge, his strongest bridge, his most he can do. And the monkey gets on it and it breaks. And Arjuna starts to cry, actually. He pulls a knife out and he's going to kill himself right then and there. Because, for a Kshatriya, their honor is everything. And so and then Krishna said, Hanuman, you say sorry to him. So actually the monkey was Hanuman. So the monkey says, and so Hanuman says, I'm sorry. And Krishna says, you should, give him a benediction or something. So Hanuman says, in the battle of Kurukshetra, he said, you're going to fight in a great battle, and I will sit on your chariot and roar and scare your enemy. So actually, it was not just a flag. Sometimes they have a picture and a flag on Hanuman picture on a flag. It was actually him. He was sitting up there. Ho, ho, ho. He was scaring everybody. And, I got a little excited there.
Do you happen to remember where this pastime is mentioned?
Oh, yeah. No, I know, no, but I know it's, because the reason I remember it is because I read it in this book called The Names of the Mahabharata, and I looked up Hanuman, and it was in there. But I'll get you the place. I didn't know about it either, and then I've seen it. I forget where it is exactly, but I think it's in one of the later Paravas, and they just kind of do a flashback story. I'll get it for you. But it's actually a pretty famous story, and that's why Hanuman was on he was actually up there, and when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, he was actually sitting up there, and he was listening in. He was bending over, Well, what's they saying? So Hanuman, actually, he's a great devotee, and his birthday is going to be this Friday. Friday is the full moon, and it's
full moon.
Yeah, Hanuman Jayanti.
Oh. It's also Shamananda's appearance. I saw.
Yeah, this Friday is going to be Hanuman Jayanti. It's his birthday. So I was in India actually, and
so Good Friday.
Yeah, good
Passover.
So Hanuman told Bhima, he said, I'm going to go there and be on his flag. And he said, but